Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 5 stories for you from the Tales from Tech Support subreddit. Make sure to give us a follow on your podcasting platform of choice, and if you're on YouTube, hit that like button down below. It really helps us out. Alright, on to today's stories. Let's get our nerd on. This story comes to us from Modem Man 11, but it's supposed to be free. So the year is 2010 or thereabouts, and I'm working tech support for a cable TV provider. I greeted a customer. "Hi, I just watched a show a few minutes ago and was charged for it, so I need it credited. It's called insert name of an adult title here, and it was $20. At the time, the only way to know this quickly what something cost was to look at the screen before clicking the clearly labeled buy or rent button that had a dollar amount next to it. No SMS alerts that something was purchased, no viewing our bill online, or any of the fancy stuff we have today. There were also no plans you can subscribe to that gave you free access to adult content. So yeah, only 2 sentences into the conversation, and I already know he's just trying to get free stuff. And I haven't even pulled up the account yet to look at anything. Oh, I'm sorry, did the title not play correctly? No, it was supposed to be free. I pay for my service already, so shouldn't be charged. And there it is. We are allowed to issue credits for things like this, but it's at our discretion. Generally speaking though, it's a one-time courtesy, and if needed, we should then educate the customer on how to identify free and paid content, and possibly set up purchase pins to prevent accidental purchases in the future. Like if it was a kid mashing buttons on the remote or something. It does happen. So I review the account and see he watched 100% of the content. I then review the account notes and previously issued credits, and see he was already issued numerous credits, all for adult titles, in the past few days. But then something catches my eye. You know how the scroll bars on PCs shrink the more content is in the list, or on the page? On the screen that lists the amount of credits that were previously issued to the customer, that scroll bar was small. And I mean very small. But what is shown without scrolling is more than enough for me to deny the credit request. I'm sorry, but I'm unable to credit it from your account as it appears you watched the whole thing, and you've already received more credits than you are allowed. All titles are clearly labeled how much they cost before you press play, and are charged for them. Do you need me to help you identify whether a program is paid or free, so this issue doesn't happen again in the future? No, thank you. He hangs up abruptly. I left a detailed note on the account saying that I did offer to help him with any issues he had, understanding the already obvious difference between free and paid, and he declined. So I go back to the screen that lists the previously issued credits. I see a lot of credits for adult titles, and I mean a lot, dating back as far as the system let me, which was about 6 months. I see at least 10 pay-per-views per day are getting credited, and every few days, a live TV subscription for an adult TV channel is added, then removed, which he also requests credit for. I get my calculator out and add it up, and he's gotten credits totaling in excess of $10,000, all for adult content. Yet no notes of the customer even trying to come up with some excuse as to why it keeps happening. And that didn't even include all the stuff he didn't get credited. I was already on the cusp of getting in trouble for staying off the phone for too long, so wasn't going to spend potentially hours comparing each charge to see if there was a corresponding credit. So I have no clue if he was over-credited more than was charged, or under-credited and was still paying for some of it. I continue to monitor the account for the next week, and the trend continues. He keeps ordering his adult content several times a day, calling back for credits claiming should be free. He gets a few more credits from other people. So I send it up the chain to my supervisor, who sends it over to accounts receivable. They are rather shocked at the credit he's received. Usually anything over $100 gets looked at by a supervisor. Anything over $200 goes to a manager, and so on. But somehow, this guy slips through the cracks. Accounts receivable sets the credit limit on the account to 0, effectively blocking him from ordering any paid content, and leaves a permanent note on the account. I continue to monitor the account for the next week or two and see he's still trying to order paid content, but now the system is throwing up error messages, automatically blocking him. He calls in a few more times, this time asking why he's getting error messages when he tries to press the buy or rent button, and he is repeatedly told he is no longer allowed because he didn't learn his lesson the first several thousand times. A few days later, the trend finally stops. He stops even trying to order things. I guess he got the hint that he needs to be responsible for paying for what he watches, and maybe sign up for that temporary fad called the internet. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Von Aether. It says, with that much credit being applied, 10 pay-per-views per day, sounds like either all your agents need some retraining or it's an inside job. OP responded and said, after I started watching the account, I did send several emails to supervisors of other agents. Some of the other agents even put in their notes credited as a one-time courtesy while the customer was on their 10,000th one-time courtesy. Alright, so I don't claim to be an expert in this, but I did work for a cable company as well, taking calls just like OP at one point, and had to deal with people who made adult purchases. And one thing I can tell you is that most guys don't, make it all the way through one of those videos, if you know what I mean. Like seriously, the average watch time on these is about 35%. So if this customer had actually watched a title all the way through one end to the other, and OP looked into their history and saw that they were watching the other ones all the way through one way to the other, it would lead me to believe that they weren't using it for their own entertainment, but they were likely copying them and then selling the copies. The people who run this business definitely need to look into the way the credits work though, and there needs to be some kind of automated thing put in that cuts them off at a certain amount, so this kind of thing can't happen again. This story comes to us from Barari. Do nothing. It works now. I work as a project manager tech lead for a small creative agency. We do marketing and web design and development, as well as maintenance for the sites we've built. Since we only have 12 people total, I'm also frontline tech support for any issues that come in. Last week, late in the day, we get a client emailing that they can't upload PDFs to their WordPress site, and the error maybe said something about a firewall. Their admin area is locked down based on IP, so I have them send their IP address and tell to whitelist it. No dice, it's already in their whitelist. I ask for a screenshot of the error, which yes, I should have done in the first place, but it's always a 50-50 split on whether people know how to do that. It's one of those generic, something is up with the server, try again later messages. I have a dev take a look, server is running fine. Now, since we're such a small shop, I also do content entry for new sites when we're in a rush. I realize the last time I saw this error was when multiple people were trying to upload content at the same time, and the error resolved itself about half an hour later. So my next steps are nothing. I wait a day and a half, longer than usual, but we had a site launch and I got busy. Then tell the client we tried a few things and to see if the error is resolved now. I get an email back thanking us for all our hard work and that we fixed the error and are amazing for helping so quickly. And that's how I fixed an error by doing nothing. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Langley3. It says, audio engineers sometimes have an unassigned fader or knob that they can adjust when a member of the audience or a musician makes a helpful suggestion. It's called the DFA fader and does F all. OP responded and said, we have a variation of this that we do with website mockups. Sometimes the client is being super picky, they hate this color, they want all these little nitpicky things changed, blah blah blah. When what they're asking for is a bad idea or doesn't make sense, sometimes I just wait a few days, rename the file from v2 to v3 or whatever, and send it back again. The amount of times I've gotten, oh, this is perfect now, thanks so much, when we've literally done nothing is insane. Another user down below called Skillafriend said, I'm doing tech support for 30 years, so I'm accustomed to just standing over a user or remoting their computer and it suddenly behaves. I call it magic presence. And the absent curse that once you go on holiday or are absent, critical stuff starts breaking. It's the trade-off. OP responded and said, "We have a running joke that every time our senior dev leaves on vacation, all heck will break loose, especially if he's going to be unreachable." I put joke in quotation marks because 9 times out of 10, it's true. Laugh out loud. In OP's original story, they said that if multiple people were trying to upload something to the back end of the website, it would give an error to one person. Okay. That kind of tells me that whatever server they're using to host this website has some major issues if it can't take uploads from 2 people at the same time. Anybody who's a little more familiar with technology and how it works, comment down below if you're on YouTube or Spotify and let me know what the heck is going on here, because it doesn't make sense to me that 2 people can't upload at the same time. This story comes to us from Salivora M. Error messages are way too complicated. Help me now. A very long time ago, I worked in a meat processing plant. Deep in the bowels of the plant was a room with 3 computers that ran the software for tracking. You need to be able to say what sausage came from which cow once it's all done, as well as everything needed to create the shift plan for the workers. In order to reach it, you had to put on a hairnet, shoe covers, coat, and I think it was disposable gloves as well, and then you had to find a way to this room that wasn't currently closed off because a machine was currently being cleaned. And unless you wanted to be soaking wet afterwards, you did not go near that. Our IT department was in the adjacent building to the plant. One day, we got an urgent call from that room. The shift manager wasn't able to print something very important. The dumb computer only gave him an error message every time he clicked print. Help! I asked him to read the message to me, and he replied along the lines of, "Those error messages are way too complicated. You need to come here and fix it now." So I went, dressed up as mentioned above, managed to find a mostly dry way to reach the room, and read the error message. "Printer out of paper, please refill paper." I don't remember the exact message as it has been nearly 20 years, but I remember that it certainly did say what needed to be done. So I refilled the paper, and miraculously, the printer printed once more. Cannot remember if I cleared the queue first or if his so important document had been printed like a dozen times. The guy just stared at me dumbfounded. That was all? I could have done that. Well, as the error said, the printer was out of paper and needed to be refilled, so once I did that, the problem was gone, and the printer could print again. Any other problems I can help you with? No, thanks. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Ben Harder TL. It says, "Sometimes I like to play along and make an effort to go somewhere because of such an error message. But when I see it, I just ask the user again if they could read it to me out loud. Usually, I then step back from the desk and give them a moment to process what they just read out loud and let nature run its course. Obviously, I double the time I put into the ticket as per work order of my manager." OP responded and said, "Yeah, I really should have done that back then." Another commenter down below called rhunter1980 said, "Still remember seeing someone ask, 'Why are the IT guys so angry?' And the first response was, 'I once had to drive 3 hours one way to press a power button after 3 separate people told me the machine was on.' This right here is the same energy." OP responded and said, "I want to kind of triple upvote this. I feel like the caller in this story thinks their time is more valuable than anybody else's time, and so they can't spend time working on an error message because they've got more important things to do." If they only looked at it for a second and realized they could fix it themselves within a minute or two and get right back to all that work, their lives would be a lot easier. But these people are what we like to call in the IT field, job security. This story comes to us from cbrother4765. "The time I helped someone set up MFA, and it went exactly as you'd expect." Hey everyone, so I was helping someone set up multi-factor authentication, MFA, the other day. and let's just say it did not go smoothly. It started off simple enough. She's trying to sign into her email, and she asks me, I'm trying to sign into my emails, and it's asking me to type my password in. Do I need to type my password in? Yes. Yes, you do. That's generally how signing in works. Then we move on. She says, now it's telling me to click on next. Am I supposed to click on next? At this point, I'm just staring at the screen like, tough one, but I'm gonna go with yes. But here's where it gets better. We finally get to the part where she needs to type in the 2 numbers from her authenticator app. She types them in wrong. Tries again, wrong. One more time, still wrong. I'm sitting there questioning everything. Her phone, the app, my life choices. After what felt like an eternity of failed attempts and endless troubleshooting, I finally figure it out. She wasn't even looking at her screen. She was just typing in 2 random numbers every time. Like the universe was going to magically accept whatever secret code she was making up. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Ayachi. It says, looks like someone needing either a basic comprehension course or a boot. I'm not even talking about IT comprehension, just general comprehension. Another commenter down below called Emax4 said, ma'am, I need to speak to your supervisor and whoever hired you. This right here is a very specific type of user, the one that can't figure out how to do anything on their own when it comes to work stuff. But they can go on Amazon, spend all their money, and get everything delivered to their house no problem. They can get food delivered to their house no problem. But when it comes to the work things, all of a sudden, they're kinda clueless. It's amazing how that works. This story comes to us from Cameron2645, me, wife, and the almighty God computer. So this occurred about an hour ago with my wife. A bit of background, I work tech support, but not a full-on turbo nerd. I work as an IT asset manager. However, if I can spare a few moments, I try and pick up and learn what my guys are doing, from physical repair to remoting in and trying to figure out what's wrong with drivers, BIOS settings, imaging, and so on. Never jumping in or taking over on calls or talking to clients, I know 100% these guys know exactly what they're doing, and I'm just trying to learn. Anyways, a very specific part to this lead up with my wife, we had a job and it was all hands on deck to do an install of roughly 80 computers and 160 monitors with KVMs, 2 machines and 4 monitors per workstation with the KVM. And I got good with displays to say the least, and now the in-house expert when a KVM breaks. Anyways, tonight my wife works nights at the hospital. I just put our daughter to bed and I'm laying down relaxing after a hard evening of playing around. Until I get a phone call. Please help, something's wrong. What's wrong, hun bun? The God computer won't turn on. The God computer is the super important computer that needs to work at all times without fail. Babe, calm down. What's going on? Describe the problem. I thought something serious happened. Wife makes some incoherent noises of frustration until I finally hear her say, it says no DP input. Thinking to absolutely crack a joke in this, I can tell it's definitely not a good idea to talk about DP jokes. Okay, babe. Wait, I'm gonna do a video call. No, please, wait. Click. So I'm laying in bed half naked in my boxers, scrambling to put something on, then the video call. My wife with about 10 to 12 ates and titas standing there. Quick clarification from Rob because I had no idea what ates or titas were in this sentence, so I looked it up, and apparently in Filipino culture, it refers to female coworkers or caregivers or senior female colleagues. It's an affectionate term. Babe, show me the screen, points camera to the screen, and like she said, no DP input. I think to myself, my wife knows a little about computers. Okay, she must be calling me because it's actually something serious. We go through the motions. I look at the back of the computer, monitor, nothing out of the ordinary until, see, the computer is on, showing me the blue light on the Dell display. Deep breath. Babe, is the computer on? Yes, the blue, that's the display. Oh. Moments pass, and I get the Dell display logo as the computer is booting up. Love you, babe. I understand actually because I know this computer, as I've seen it and it does not turn off unless Windows updates it. And a solid end to the story is the computer came back to life and all is well. I'm even getting some rewards from them in the form of lumpia. Figured it was a fun story to share. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Ear Health Help 1. It says, "The monitor is not the computer. Tale as old as time." I assume the first incident of this happened shortly after the first monitor was created. OP responded and said, "To be absolutely fair here, it's one of the weird Dell ones where it's the tiny guy mounted like an Optiplex mounted to the back of the monitor, then the whole thing is mounted to the wall." Another commenter down below called Throwaway Old Guy said, "Her coworkers will never let her forget this moment and will probably remind her on a daily basis. The real plus for you is they will tell her how fortunate she is to have you at home. Take the win." If you enjoyed daily Reddit stories, I encourage you to follow and add us to your favorites on whichever podcasting platform you enjoy the most. And if you're watching and listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.